So hey, some of you out there might be struggling with some stuff. Seems like I'm not gonna. This isn't about doom stuff. I mean, it kind of is, but it's not for the most part. Uh, Seeing those floods in Texas and just just random kind of weather events that seem like they're all over the place now, and the things that they put on the put on the old television for you to watch there at the regulated hours of 24/7, 365. On top of that, adding extra stress to your existence, just paycheck to paycheck, and or in what it is that you're trying to do with yourself. And seeing that AI has really opened up the door for a lot of possibilities. For everyone to be able to get onto a level playing field. And a long time ago, I had said that instead of everybody out there that's running those Ponzi schemes like life insurance, uh, stock market, running those Ponzi schemes that they all made off with the money. That if everybody was on the social medias and they were interacting with each other, that it'd be a way to, like, if everybody was just promoting each other to get ahead. And that seems like I'm watching it take place. Now, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I had 7 years that I was talking to people, and doing my thing, which in my mind, I feel I was doing all right. But I didn't understand the internet, and I still don't. I didn't understand the internet and the technology that I was using to post stuff. And they really had a heads up on us with the AI. And I just call it ancient intelligence. There's ancient intelligence, and then there's the creation of artificial intelligence, where the artificial intelligence is the gathering of all the current things, all the current information, and processing it. The ancient intelligence is where they got the knowledge to create artificial intelligence. And that's just my theory. It's just my theory. And with doing that, uh, you can look at and see that if they just started this artificial intelligence boom, that's been around. It's been around for a long time. It's been it's been around for a long time. And with all the social media, we were just giving them our existence. And I think that's why the Indians, I recall something about the Indians not liking their pictures taken. They didn't want their pictures taken. And it's kind of like if you go even farther back, that with the no idols and false images, and they didn't want any graven images of them. They didn't want anything that when they were there at the time to say that that's who that was that said these things or taught us these things. And in a way, I can kind of relate to that because they change. They change throughout time. You want the information to carry on. You don't necessarily need to idolize or make an idol out of an individual that's sharing that information, because multiple individuals throughout what we know of his existence have given bits and pieces of information all along the way. So in a sense, it does make sense to not have that put up on a pedestal. What do they call that? A martyr, you know, not to martyr an individual. Which, if you kind of just think about it, they've martyred a lot of individuals with specific information and specific knowledge, which in turn has given them the upper hand, and whoever them are at this point, the upper hand in what's going on in our current status. And I see a lot of things that come through YouTube. I mean, I kind of stayed away from the TikTok for a little while, the F book and the S chap and the igram, and was really just focused in on my logic is India owns this and Google and stuff, supposedly. And there's a lot of information that comes from India. Like, a lot of knowledge comes out of India. And I've always thought that nobody ever messes with India, you know? There's something about that. They've actually kind of give you the vibe of the Star Trek. The Star Trek, they don't interfere. And I'm not talking about any of the stuff that's been going on recently. I just mean in general. It's like they're a data center for information, past, present, future. So, with just watching YouTube and seeing what can come through, and knowing that there's like the dark web, the black web, the white web, the purple web, the flying purple people eater web, stay away from those, that we really, as the consumer, that they're the consumer of all this stuff, that we have no idea. We've had no idea what's actually been going on. And some people have tried talking about it and getting that information out, and, well, you know the results of that. If you're watching this, you probably have heard. And I've always said that I've been guided through my existence. Little nudge here, little nudge there. You do something, you learn a lesson, move on. And here in the past few years, that's that thing that I've tried to wrap all of that up into something that won't get stolen. And I mean, I know there's like a white hat he loves this. He loves this. And I've had to get to the point where, like, all right, so they're profiting off of it. And I've got to realize that I know my guides and the higher ups know this. They know this. Nothing gets past them. That's just a fact. And yet I'm pushed in a way, just driven, really, to be patient and at the same time figure out a way to do this, to exist. And when I say exist, you know, to have the income coming in. And some of the things, to have the income coming in and knowing that AI can replicate it and that others can just take it. And that there's a lot of information in my noggin that I do want to share, and I feel somewhat persuaded by the YouTube algorithm, which is a combination of the AI, I believe, and what inputs I put in. And even going as far as just patiently toughing out a certain genre just to keep those that are paying attention to everything I'm watching in a certain type of mindset, and then burying as much as I can 6 feet down, the six levels down, and just noting it, and then try to get that away as quick as possible, so that it's not something that it's not something I can it's not something on the top of my mind, but it's far enough in there in the subconscious that when needed, I know it comes out. I know that it recalls and works its way into my understanding of my existence. And that's all I was really doing before, was incorporating my life experiences and trying to share those in a way that I knew my children, my and grandchildren, and the progression of down the line, in my beliefs that this would be carried on, that the internet is just the beginning, and then the cell phones and social media was just the beginning of this new age that was coming in multiple ways to share information and to get each other to grow and to support each other in a way that some of this tyranny, the higher up kind of clash over information, over power, would slowly dissipate as the older set in their ways. This is just how we do it. We thump heads, we take money, and we don't care about anybody else. Versus, hey, this is how this stuff kind of works, and share the ideas that work with each other, and make it to where everybody's enjoying this experience that we call life, this existence. And I did find out in a way that not everybody likes that. And I had said things before about with the military that we get pretty gung ho about supporting military, and I support military. But I also understand that the way things were going, or I don't want to say they're going that way now. I see things kind of trying to balance itself out here. We're on this weebles and wobbles, and we're trying not to fall. But I see it where if you have a shite ton of resources and you can't change your mindset, you can't change your perception of the things going on around you to where you include everyone in this new way, this new way of existing. And it's not socialism, it's not communism, it's not capitalism. These things are old and outdated. There's pieces of each of these things, though, that work. And unless you get on a bandwagon and make them all junk. And that's where we've got to start seeing through and or looking for the sweet spot in that gray zone, so that we can pick each other up, because there is more out there. And in a way, I kind of see that battle for balance in that area trying to work itself out. But the big thing is the the stealing of each other's ideas. And then having said that, having the mindset that it's stealing when it's just sharing. Because we need to share those ideas. So getting away from that I and get more into the we, the coexisting of all of us, so that we can advance together. Advance in our relationships, when you have, with your family and your friends and loved ones. Advance in your own personal spiritual journey, or your just life journey. Being able to use your discernment when you are around others as to where they are at um, in that journey, and how close you are with those that you spend your time with or try to spend your time with, or those that don't want to spend any time with you because of what you try to do or what you try to speak on. And I see examples. I'm stuttering at the moment because I have not made many videos because I don't want to keep saying because either. I haven't made many videos. I've been hermiting. Um, some people want to say it's you froze, and I can say you say froze and that's a negative. I say hermiting, and you're thinking, isolating. You want to be able to think. And I've had enough time at this point with what I've been processing to come to the conclusion, that I feel more comfortable being myself, but also sharing. And then it becomes a thing of being mindful of what it is that you're sharing. Because, I will use because here, because of all the things that some of the ones that are just grasping on to they need all that wealth and they need everybody under there to not know anything so that they're able to have all that wealth in a thing that even if all of us, all the ones that are down here and that trickle down theory, uh, I don't know the numbers, but if we had if there was a tenth of what they had out there, they would still have their control. They would still have their Scrooge McDuck vault of gold to swim around in, and everybody would still be able to, improve on their existence, improve on their life, be more creative, be more outgoing, be a lot of things. just be, to just be. And again, I see that balance taking place through little things that I've seen. Sometimes there are glimpses of, I don't even want to say common sense, but just there's glimpses of like, oh man, any minute, any minute, some good old logic is just going to like explode out of that television, and it's going to shock everybody. It's going to shock everybody in a certain age group. It's just going to click and it's going to make sense. And it's gonna just skyrocket and improve after that, way faster than the North Pole drift. And I do see things with the weather, and I was big into. I still am. I still pay attention of the sun activity and the Earth activity as far as climate and space weather. But I did, and I noticed a while ago that my energy levels, my frequency, my overall general feeling was very much in tune with these earth changes, the sun changes. And I made some videos talking about that. But then is in doing that and making videos about it, am I just feeding that fear-based thing, that fear-based level that anybody tuning in and tuning their frequency to that level is going to experience. And I don't want that. I don't want to. I don't want. I mean, it's not that I don't want to. It's just uh, raising up these vibrations is a way of helping to prevent some of these things to take place that you won't necessarily experience unless you need to. All that kind of devastation and craziness. If you stay at that lower vibration, you're going to experience it. I believe that. I believe that to the fact like I know it. But if you get yourself squared away and raise your vibration and get into that mindset of sharing sharing information, just being kind, raise your vibes up, not holding grudges. And that's what the Bible talks about. It's like you got to forgive people. And that's you forgiving yourself as well. More importantly, forgiving yourself. And when I say forgive, it's like, well, I've looked at my going through things as lessons. I'm being guided, and I've done stuff, and they were lessons. If you do it more than, I'd say, it feels like doing something that was questionable or doing something that was a generational pattern from childhood traumas, just generational patterns. We'll just call it that for now. And you continue doing it, and that's your intention, then that's something you're going to take up eventually. In a cycle, you're going to experience something to do with it. Yet if it's something where you had the experience and you're like, oh no, I wouldn't want to feel like that. And you don't want to feel like that. You don't want others to feel like that. And the trick is when you're younger, you're doing stuff and you just don't have enough information, so you think you're doing things in a way that isn't going to matter later. But what you're really doing is causing a ripple effect through your existence, and not only your existence at that current moment, but other existences that you'll be attached to depending on what your choices are during these lessons. That again, during a cycle, you'll experience, and to see how you're going to react or behave in certain situations that your previous experiences and lessons were trying to teach you. So that if you are getting those, then you're raising your vibration. You're forgiving yourself, you're letting stuff go, and realizing that's just a lesson. I'm not dwelling on it. And at the same time, trying to make right with those in your existence. If that's the way your existence turns out, that you have multiples or multiple people around you, or that you're constantly around, that are a part of those lessons and making things right as you move forward, as you keep moving forward, which really it's not moving forward, you're just moving. You just keep moving, because things move back and forth. Things move back and forth. So with that said, in this time right now, just kind of reflect back without dwelling on it. just reflect back on all the things that you have changed about yourself, all the things that um, you've improved, no matter how small, no matter how small. All the things that since you stopped pooping yourself when you were a baby because you didn't have enough information to now, no matter what your age. And and use those things that you've accomplished, use those things that you have changed. And if you know and believe the others around you that you've helped in any way, shape, or form uh, along their journey of existence, and know that without pride, know that you are you're doing it. You know, you're awesome. You're just, if you're watching this and you're able to look back or think back and have good memories despite everything, then you're awesome. You're doing great. And you just got to keep moving. Keep moving just like the seasons. Keep moving just like the stars. Keep moving. You know, you don't get into the brass tacks of which way they're moving, if it's under a dome and out of a dome. None of that is really important for to just keep moving. Positioning and aligning of stars and such, that stuff is important if that's your thing. But for the most part, no matter where you're at or who you're around, you just keep moving forward uh, and trying your best. And the guides, watchers, you know, the higher ups out there that are watching us and seeing how we handle things and how we do things are rooting for you. You know, they're rooting for you. They're not trying to drag you down. They're not trying to make it difficult. Not trying to cause confusion or chaos. And just be like a father or a mother that has children and does nothing but try to make their life miserable. If you wouldn't do that to your children, then, you know, use that logic and know that what's watching out for us, despite all of this stuff that's going on, is not doing this to cause you harm. And keep moving. And it'll all be figured out when you get there. Peace.